Blythe, California, a quiet desert town that might hold one of Mexico's oldest secrets, and your comments took me there. You have inspired a series. I made a video about the migration story of the Mexica, many call them Aztecs, and the comments blew up. Again and again, people named the 8, 9, or 10 locations that they believe are Aztlan, the lost homeland of the Aztecs. So I made another video, this time about one of the top contenders, Utah. This time the comments went nuclear, especially on Instagram. Some agreed, some pushed back hard, and others gave us unexpected theories that I'm gonna have to make an episode about soon. So now I'm taking it further with a series called Searching for Aztlan, the home of the Aztecs. And today, it's contender number 2, Blythe. Blythe sits on the California side of the Colorado River, across from Arizona, a few hours north of the Mexican border, and roughly 1,000 miles northwest of Mexico City, where Tenochtitlan once stood. Yet just 15 miles north lies something remarkable, a set of massive ancient geoglyphs, indigenous designs so large you can see them from the ground, but they can best be appreciated from up above. And they're called the Blythe Intaglios. They're enormous figures, human shapes, animals, and abstract symbols, some stretching over 100 feet long, carved by scraping away the dark surface soil to reveal lighter earth underneath. They might remind you of the Nazca lines in Peru, another huge set of sacred ground drawings, created centuries ago by indigenous peoples with their own stories written in earth. If that rings a bell, I already did an episode on the Nazca lines, and it's worth watching if you're curious about the correlation between landscape, sacred art, and ancient indigenous cultures. According to the Bureau of Land Management, the figures were interpreted by the local Quatan people, also known as the Yuma and the Mojave, as sacred beings. The human shapes represent Mastamho, the creator, while the animal figures are tied to Hatakulya, a mountain lion spirit. Ceremonies were once held here, and the site remains sacred to this day. Some say they simply mark a sacred place. Others believe they hold clues to the Mexica migration itself. Could this be legendary Aztlan? Let's look at the pros and the cons, starting with the reasons that some believe that Blythe really could be Aztlan. One of the strongest voices that Blythe could be Aztlan is a man by the name of Alfredo Acosta Figueroa, a Chicano activist, author, and lifelong researcher whose family has lived along the Colorado River for generations. He has spent nearly 6 decades studying this desert region, and he believes that Blythe isn't just ceremonial, it's the literal homeland of the Mexica that they left behind. Figueroa has documented over 300 petroglyphs, pictographs, and sacred sites across the Palo Verde and Parker valleys, all, he argues, connected to the Mexica migration story. He even points to the white herons and egrets that still gather along the river, matching one of the possible meanings of the name Aztlán in Nahuatl, the place of the herons. But his convictions don't stop there. Figueroa argues that the geography around Blythe mirrors sacred places in Mexica cosmology. He links the Big Maria Mountains to Coatepetl, the sacred serpent hill in Aztec myth. He connects granite mountains to Tamoanchan, the mythic place where the gods first lived. And he ties the Mule Mountains to Cali, a Nahuatl symbol representing home and the ceremonial heart of a community. Finally, he says that the lower Colorado River wasn't just a river. It was the starting point of the Mexica migration headed south. But that's only part of the case that Figueroa makes, because to him, it's not just a story that's in rock or in myth. It's alive in the land itself. The Blythe Intaglios aren't just random, they are tied to ceremony. According to Quechan and Mojave oral tradition, and confirmed by the Bureau of Land Management, these figures represent creator beings like Mastamho and Hatakulya, and the surrounding desert is part of their sacred landscape. Now, these stories aren't the same as the Mexicas, but they share something powerful. Both see the land itself as alive, as part of a larger story of creation. And for many, this kind of resonance isn't coincidence, it's connection. And the Colorado River wasn't just cutting through the desert. It was one of the great indigenous corridors of the Southwest. Long before Spanish maps or modern borders, the Quechuan, Mojave, Halchidoma, and other river peoples traveled these valleys for ceremony, trade, and seasonal migration. According to the National Park Service, this corridor linked the Colorado Basin with overland trails that extended west toward the Pacific coast and south into what's now Mexico. So if the Mexica did once journey south from Aztlán, this region could fit the bill, a fertile waterway connecting northern homelands to the lands below. Figueroa takes that idea much further, because for him, this area wasn't just a migration route, it was Aztlán itself. And his mapping of more than 300 petroglyphs, pictographs, and sacred sites along these river valleys is his attempt to show that what some call a road might actually have been the spiritual and physical heart of ancient Aztlán. Whether or not you accept this theory, one thing is clear. This river has always been more than just geography. It's a living line of connection. But for all the connection and coincidence, there are still serious questions, and sometimes things don't line up. The Mexica described Aztlán as a homeland, a place where people lived, governed, and began their journey south when instructed by their god, Huitzilopochtli. But archaeologists haven't found enough strong evidence of homes, temples, plazas, or burials in the area of the Blythe Intaglios. And the Bureau of Land Management notes that while the Intaglios are sacred to local indigenous communities, no tribe has definitively identified them as part of their ancestral traditions. Some researchers have suggested a link to the Patayan culture, which lived by the lower Colorado River between roughly 700 and 1550 AD, but that is speculation and doesn't connect directly to the Mexica or any known migration path. So while Blythe may have been an important ceremonial landscape, and it still holds deep significance for the Quetzal and Mojave peoples, there still isn't enough compelling physical evidence of a permanent organized settlement that matches what the Mexica described when they remembered Aztlán. The Bureau of Land Management estimates that the Blythe Intaglios are somewhere between 450 and 2,000 years old, but that range comes from dating nearby organic materials, not the glyphs themselves. That's because the intaglios were made by removing the darker topsoil to reveal lighter earth underneath, leaving no organic material behind, nothing that can be radiocarbon dated. So archaeologists have had to rely on charcoal, sediment, and artifacts found around the geoglyphs instead of within them. Now, a few nearby sites in the region, other desert geoglyphs along the lower Colorado, have been radiocarbon dated to between 550 and 1150 AD. And yes, that roughly overlaps with the traditional window of migration of the Mexica. But the truth still is, we don't know when the Blythe Intaglios were made, whether it was during that period or centuries before or after the Mexica ever left for the Valley of Mexico. Until direct dating becomes possible, this is going to remain one of the weakest spots in the theory. And finally, there are no compelling established linguistic or cultural links. The local Quechuan and Mojave peoples speak human languages, out of the Hokan language family. The Mexica spoke Nahuatl from the Uto-Aztecan family, and so far researchers haven't found any clear linguistic relationships between the two. So far, archaeological work in the Blythe region has also uncovered no confirmed traces of Nahuatl writing or ritual objects that would clearly connect it to the world of the Mexica. As noted by Archaeology Southwest and the Bureau of Land Management, there's still no material evidence of contact or overlap, at least with what we currently know. There's also no compelling oral tradition from either the Quechuan or the Mexica that places Aztlán here or describes a passage through this part of the Colorado River Valley. So while the Blythe Intaglios and the area around them remain deeply sacred to local peoples, and while patterns of symbolism across the Americas sometimes echo one another, the direct cultural bridge between Blythe and the Mexica hasn't been established, at least not yet. Blythe checks some compelling boxes. It's in the right general direction. It's spiritually meaningful, and it sits along one of the great indigenous corridors of the Southwest. Chicano activist and researcher Alfredo Acosta Figueroa, who has spent most of his life studying this region, passionately argues that Blythe isn't just symbolically powerful, it is Aztlán. His theory ties the geoglyphs, mountain figures, and surrounding sacred sites to Aztec codices and even the Mexica creation story. But still, there's no confirmed settlement, no direct dating of the Intaglios, and no established cultural or compelling linguistic link to the Mexica. So, for now, Blythe stands as a powerful ceremonial landscape, deeply meaningful, absolutely worth protecting, but not, at least with the evidence we have today, the cultural homeland the Mexica remembered as Aztlan. With new tools, from LiDAR mapping to more precise dating methods, maybe one day we'll know for sure what these desert giants were meant to tell us. So what do you think? Could Blythe be it, or do we keep looking? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you have sources, share them. That's how I found out about Blythe. You see, this channel isn't about me knowing everything. It's about exploring the stories, and I want to keep learning. If you haven't seen the first 2 episodes, the first one explores the migration story of the Mexica, and the second one explores one of our top contenders, Utah. Links for that are going to be down here on the side somewhere and in the description. And if you want more stories about the myths, legends, history, and unsolved mysteries from Central America, South America, Mexico, and the Caribbean, hit the bells and the buttons so you never miss anything new. And to support the channel, check out the description below where I just added the Dia de Muertos collection to our spring merch store, along with Amazon book links and references so you can dig deeper on your own. Friend, that's all for now. In the next episode in the series, we come back to Mexico and we head to the island of Mexcaltitán in the state of Nayarit, where people there swear that is the real home of Aztlan. I'm Andrew, thanks for watching the Mysteries of Latin America, and until next time, adios.